Hi, my name is Dana Ferguson and I'm running for Congress to represent Michigan's 1st District. Before I really get into what I'm doing and why I decided to make this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of writing this speech. The announcement of someone running for public office is an important part of their campaign. I can't even begin to tell you how many hours I put into this, far more than I anticipated. So many thoughts, so many ideas were running through my head while I was trying to figure out what to write. But I really couldn't nail down what I wanted to say or how I wanted to say it. Announcement speeches are usually predictable. Everyone colors it their own way, but for the most part there's a common theme. But I was stuck. I could go inspirational or thought-provoking or exciting. I could fill you with hope or instill you with fear and desperation. I could be negative about others and pretend that I hold all the answers. I could pander, make promises, criticize and blame the establishment, pretending a changing of the guard is all that we need. Sitting there for hours on end, stumbling along, I thought about all the different approaches and ideas I could take, and then I started over once again. I didn't want to cheapen my message by coming across as pandering, and on top of that, the ultimate message that I wanted to convey was more sobering than anything else. So while I'm passionate about the message and why I'm running, I realize it isn't the typical rile up the base message. It isn't a rant full of promises, a fight speech against the injustices being faced, or an us versus them speech, which probably would have been way easier. I didn't want to alienate a specific group and make my announcement and candidacy about teams. I didn't want to make it about winning or control or fear or negativity. I wanted it to be about reality, our reality, where we are right now and where we can go together if we change how we view things. With all this in mind, I couldn't just make the typical announcement speech. I couldn't give the same message as everyone else who's pleading for your vote. I had to change my approach to one that reflects who I am as a person, who I'm going to be as a candidate, and who I would be as a representative. I'm not going to approach this campaign the way it's usually done. If I'm going to get your vote, I want it to be because I earned it, because you believe what I say, because you believe in my message, not because I told you things you wanted to hear, not because you think I'm going to always make you happy, and not because we agree on every issue, because I want to earn your vote even if we disagree. I believe a representative's duty is more than to just hold a position on issues. They should be dedicated to making the world better, to be respectable, honorable, to be brave enough to take a chance or to act cautiously. I want you to believe that even if we disagree on something, I will do everything in the most respectable way possible, that I won't deceive you or play politics just to get your vote. I tell you this up front to get it out of the way. I'll be honest with you. I hope you'll be honest with me. I am running as a Democrat, but I am not beholden to the Democratic Party. I am running to represent the people of the 1st District, and therefore I answer to the people of the 1st District. Speak for, will work for, have the best interest of, and will be beholden to the people and interest of the 1st District, not only those that voted for me, but everyone, regardless of political party or beliefs. I'm not of the opinion that opposing beliefs and political parties are the enemy of each other. But what I believe and what we see in the world today don't match. Regardless of the party, they either claim they need to get back into power or they need to hold on to power in order to push legislation they view as best for America. But my question and concern is, how can someone state what's best for all of us if a huge percentage of the population disagrees with it? It is this current role that parties play that make us think there's something wrong with the system, not with how our elected representatives are participating in and managing the system. We need to change the role that parties play today. Our normal may be a bit tragic right now, but our system isn't. We have all the tools at our disposal to accomplish anything we may want to. We only need to see the error of our ways in order to adjust that normal to something a little more respectable and sustainable. Then we can build on our successes of the past instead of gloating about how great we are, or once were, or will be again. Like I said, the tools are already in place. What we're lacking right now is the vision, the skills, and the patience to use them. We really need to take a look at how we view each other. Our tolerance for those with different beliefs and principles than ours is in tatters, and I hold the current structure of political parties largely responsible for that. If we want to do what's best for ourselves, then we must have tolerance and acceptance for others. This isn't the typical accept others for who they are line. We've come a long way with racism, sexism, sexual orientation, gender identity, and more. Yes, bigotry still exists and we must continue to improve, but we've made tremendous advances from where we've been. This isn't the acceptance I'm referring to now, though. I'm talking about the acceptance of our basic principles and beliefs that define how we view our relationships with each other, with our community, and with our governments. We fight each other believing that we are right and they are wrong. We leave very little room for mistakes, for learning, for growth, because we're too busy fighting over the issue of who is right and who is wrong. What I'm saying is we have to let go of that desire to tell others how wrong they are. Claiming to own the only correct answer when it involves principles and beliefs ensures that conflict and fighting will continue, while progress and improvement will be sacrificed. This leads to the failure of a nation, not its success. So when I express my frustration with the political parties and their supposed stewards, this is where it stems from. It's not the principles which the parties stand for, but the feeling of superiority and self-righteousness they exude. It's not the differences between them, but the intolerance which they show one another. It's not the steadfast claim that they have the answers to make the world better and solve all of its problems. It's the ignorance, the blindness, the audacity of them to make that claim in the name of everyone. I don't believe they, the parties and the people running them, have done enough to contribute to the betterment of us as a country and as a people. We need to drop the gloves, ignore the line that divides the parties, and embrace our differences, not erase them, to become better. One viewpoint, one opinion, one party can come to a solution. Right or wrong, but a solution nonetheless. Is that what we want? Will that make things better? No, it won't. And we should be better than that. We've come far enough to be better than saying this is how we're doing it, and for all of you who don't like it, too bad. We are a country founded on federalist principles and grounded in liberty. We began as an experiment in freedom and turned into the apotheosis of it. We took the unwanted, the underappreciated, and the unfortunate and gave them something to believe in. And through them, the principles and world we see today was possible. We are a product of that. We didn't ask to be born here at this time, but because we are here, we have the duty to be better, to strive to accomplish more than those before us, not live off their inheritance. All of us, not just a select few. We were provided a structure, a foundation, and it is every generation's duty to build upon that foundation and not squander the work laid down before them. The perfect government was not created. The work was not done, and nowhere was it said that everything from those early days on was going to be easy. We will always need to work to improve ourselves, as a people, as a community, as a government. That is what I strive for. It's my goal to pursue the best interest of the whole, not just the select few, because I'm under the belief that my interests are not above those of all others. Maybe we've been so long focused on what is best for us and us alone that doing the right thing because it's the right thing has become lost. Maybe we've become so reliant on someone else to tell us what is right and what is wrong that we've forgotten to exercise our own will in the matter. Maybe it's time we all take a minute to look in the mirror and ask ourselves what legacy we want to leave the next generation. So what approach do you want to take? Would you rather fight or work together? Would you rather remain stagnant or grow? Would you rather live with hate and anger and skepticism, or hope, acceptance, and trust? I choose the latter. I choose to believe we can live in a world that we can protect and care for while we grow economically, socially, and technologically. I choose to believe that while we may not be able to bridge the gap between those with differing personal and social values, we can learn to accept those values as the individuals and not our own. I choose to believe that we have a responsibility to protect and care for our citizens in a way that is continually improving. We shouldn't look at where we are today or back at past successes and say that we've reached the pinnacle of who we are as a people. We should never be content with the failure and struggle of others, when all they're trying to do is provide for their families and themselves. I believe we can be better, as individuals, as communities, as a government, and as a country. We can always improve who we are and how we do things. This doesn't mean the government gets bigger, or that people should rely on the government more. It's the opposite. The best government is one that acts only when and where it needs to. Not to take on everyone's burden, not to relieve them of all hardships, not to fix all conflicts. The government should be the beacon of light in the storm, the armor in battle. It is meant to guide, not to give, to protect, not to provide. In a democracy, people get the government that they deserve. It's time we expect more from ourselves. Then perhaps our government will reflect more of the positive influence and honor we should desire from it. I believe we can and should be better. And that belief is what brought me to this moment right here. It is what pushed me to run for Congress, and it is what drives me every day. My approach is to address the causes of problems, not just the symptoms. To find and achieve solutions, not just a quick fix. I know these are just words, and words are cheap, but the reality is these words need to be spoken. They need to be heard, and they need to be a wake-up call for anyone that wants to argue against them. For anyone who wants to accuse me of being naive, I would point you to the fact that using the same approach to solve a persistent problem isn't just crazy, it's dumb. Being naive is not what led me to this path and this conclusion. Being aware of who we are and understanding where we've come from has. Success can be defined in many ways, but in my view, we can only succeed by embracing who we are and accepting who others are. Then, and only then, can we begin working together. Now, some see this as compromise or as weakness. Some view compromise as a basic necessity of government, others as a way for no one to truly get what they want. I see it as a part of societal evolution where we stop trying to change others to fit our mold and instead begin to see the possible improvements in ourselves, partly by observing what works in others. Whether your belief is that it is the right of the majority to decide for all the direction of our country, or you believe there should be compromise to prevent the tyranny of the majority, I'm going to argue that it's imperative we stop viewing an opposing party and those who don't share our views as the enemy. There are some things that need to be decided as a nation, some by the states, some by our local governments, and others that should be left to the individual. A deserving people can create this government. The strongest nations, the most advanced civilizations, are those which can accept diversity while retaining their unity. There are so many common goals that can be achieved, we're only failing to see the solutions. Differences can aid in our growth instead of hinder it, if we realize one cannot claim ownership of truth over another when it comes to differing principles and beliefs. They belong to you and no one else. It is our ultimate freedom and should be guarded against at all times, especially now when there's fighting over that claim of ownership. Our differences should not drive us apart. They should drive us forward. They shouldn't take us down. They should lift us up. They shouldn't make us want to rule over others. They should encourage us to work with them. The old approach is no longer good enough to bring us into the future. It's time the approach our representatives take to change. The pandering and placating has to stop. It's time for our representatives to be honest with their constituents and for everyone to be honest with themselves. There's work to do. It will take time and it will be difficult. All of us, representatives and private citizens alike, can no longer just sit back and be content with things. We can't be isolated to our own beliefs because in reality there are people holding opposing beliefs, and we need to live together in this world. As citizens, you and I should demand the best out of our representatives. They need to have the skill to weave together the best results for all of us while respecting the differences that make us unique. They need to guide us to a better future by leading the charge. But it doesn't stop with our representatives. The paradigm shift of who we are as a people must begin to happen in all of us. The path can be difficult and trying, but if the path leads to the best possible outcome, then it was worth the work. If we end up sacrificing who we are by compromising the best of humanity in us, we will cease to deserve the future outcome we strive for. So over the next 18 months, I'll be traveling back and forth across this district, talking to anyone that wants to talk, listening to anyone with something to say, and learning how I can be the best representative for you. Because I don't just seek to hold the office, I aspire to be worthy of being the representative you deserve. I hope to learn from you and be challenged by you, but I also hope to reciprocate the favor. This is a unique time. I don't know if I'd call it the fork in the road, but if it's not, then it's very close. Put some thought into the path you decide to take. Thank you, and I'll see you on the road.